When I talk to immigrants, or when I talk to people like myself, we talk a lot about, do you abandon your community when you come here and just start the process of settling in again, or do you find a balance? I think Iqbal answers that question. You need a balance. Because if you move to a new place and you say that, you know what, I'm just going to forget who I am and start trying to integrate, he hates the word assimilation, and I hate that word too. What you're doing is similar to just cutting the roots of a living tree. That's what you're doing. You need your community, you need to accept who you are, and then you need to start the process of finding your new self. But we talked about a ton more in this. Let's get to it. Enjoy. You moved like 10 years ago, What were you thinking of when you said, I am going to move to Canada? Like, what was going through your head at that point in time? Like, why did you want to move? What motivated that,
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you for connecting me, and it is really a great honor for me to be with you. And as for your questions, I can think that in before 10 years, in 2012, when I was planning to move out of my country for higher study. So it is connected to my previous education and my work that I would like to tell you that as I completed my first master's degree in 2008, then I became a university lecturer at the university. It is a science and technology university in Bangladesh, which is called Shahjalal University of Science and Technology.
Yeah.
And when after becoming, in 2009 January, I became the lecturer, and January 2012 I became assistant professor. I promoted to the assistant professor's post, and that time I started to exploring where I can go for my higher studies, and I actually compared the pros and cons and future prospects of education and quality of education, higher education in different countries, for example, Canada, America, and also European countries. And eventually, and also beside this, I started contacting with professors and reading their response, how they are responding to me. And by this time, I contacted to a professor, from University of Manitoba. Her name is Dr. Laurie Wilkinson. And when I sent her an email, the way she replied to me, it was really fascinating, and it was, something that it attracted me. No, I should go to there, because I know before that the Canada is a country of huge opportunity for higher studies. Because first of all, I didn't think of that I will go to Canada and settle there. Because I wanted to complete higher education over in Canada. And when my professor who replied to me so nicely and in a welcoming manner, I thought that no, I should go to Canada. Then I applied for the Canadian master's program. I got admission, I got fellowship, and then actually I moved to Canada in 2013 September. I can remember it is September 9th. I arrived in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Well, that's interesting. And I can imagine, I really like that your method where you say you're sending emails out to them and then you're like, let me see how they'll respond to me, because that'll tell me whether am I going to be welcome or not. Like, that's a really interesting process. And now when you moved in here, like, what was hard, what was easy, what did you find tough trying to settle into? Like, what was hard for you, what was easy for you?
It was actually mixed experience. It was not that easy and that difficult, because when first of all, I would say I'm lucky that I got a wonderful professor for my master's degree. Wonderful professors, and also wonderful, faculty and teachers. I would say them their mentors. But when I came to Canada, so it was a new country. I didn't know about the environment, what would be the social environment, cultural environment, as well as the geographical environment. You can know that it's a harsh winter. Harsh winter, I can remember. So when I came to Canada, I came to Canada first. I was so excited. Yes, I am going to Canada to complete my degree. But after landing and when I started feeling the reality, because people are not like our country, or everyone is busy with their own activities, own work, but they're helpful people who are from first. I got help from my people from my country. They're really helpful, but at the end you are on your own because they're busy with their work. And then when I went to the university, I came to 9th of September, and 10th was my first class. I went there because I was a little bit late to get my visa approved. Then when I went to the class, and it was completely different class environment, and also one of things is the English language. The language ability I had before coming to Canada, it appeared that it is not working well. I cannot
I feel
understand.
that.
Yeah, in the class, when particularly my Canadian friends, they are really well organized in their English language. They are talking, and it is going above my head. I couldn't understand what they are talking because our classes were, seminar type. But I can, gratefully can remember one of my brothers, Bangladeshi, brothers who was completing PhD, and he encouraged me then stop and don't be frustrated. God has created us in such a way that we will automatically adapt with the system. You just, concentrate. You just, get involved with the discussion and anything. So I can remember after one semester, my language problems minimized a lot. And second one was when I came in September, since from then November, the winter started, and it was the coldest winter. And I can remember that the temperature was minus during the winter, minus 49, 50. And
What?
it was the coldest. I heard that, probably I might be wrong, but I heard that time people told that it broke the record of 100 years or something. It was so cold. And I was really scared. And I started crying, and I want to go back home because I cannot survive this winter.
Gosh.
But when I can remember when I went to the university, my professors, they were so caring. To be honest, they were so caring to me. They used to touch my cheek and say that whether I am, cold or not. Every time they used to advise me, do this, do that. I felt that it is my second home. And from that time, University Department of Sociology, now it is Sociology and Criminology, I consider it my second home. Everyone was so cooperative, so welcoming. And actually that helped me, to actually inhale my stress of, not getting, the worst environment, particularly worse,
The
physical
winter.
environment, winter and everything. And also I started getting involved with education, and my supervisor also started, boosting me up mentally. And
Mhm.
actually it helped me to stay here until these 10 years.
That's interesting. So I just want to ask, like, what's the coldest it gets in Bangladesh?
It will be cold. I would say that it is like the fall winter here is the coldest. Fall weather here in Canada is the coldest weather in our country, and hottest is the 50, 60. You can go above 50, and it kind of a, what I would say, sauna. You are in the, for whole country would be kind of a sauna, hot, very hot. And cold is not that much cold like Canadian winter.
Yeah. You know, just kind of staying on this a bit. When we are coming to a place, we have an idea of, or we think we have an idea of what the place looks like. So I'm just curious, like, what did you think Canada was going to be like before you moved? What did you have in your mind? And then when you got here, because you've talked a bit about the things that kind of shocked you, but what did you have in your mind? Like, oh, did you do some research? Did you Did you talk to people before you landed, or did you have any preconceptions before you came into the country?
Because to be honest, I didn't have enough under knowledge about Canada. First of all, I did not know it is a huge country. First of all, that it has a different places, has different, environmentals. So, but I talked to some people. One thing the aspiring situation was that Canada is a land of opportunity, and it is if you go there, you can learn. There are huge opportunity of learning. Mainly, my focus was to complete masters and navigate my degrees into PhD, going through the PhD degrees, which I am doing now. And that was that. Okay, Canada will be a really good country and everything, but one person I can remember, the person who talked negative about the winter weather, that person gave me too much negative. He told that one person was, so cold. Because of the cold, his ear came off. Yeah, this is kind of thing. So it will be so cold, due to the frostbite, and his ear came out of the. It was so that was scary. But I didn't know that. No, it is not that much, scary. But it is. I also couldn't understand that it will be this much cold. That much cold when I will go there. But before coming, I learned a lot of things about good things. Particularly, as I told you, my supervisor was in communication with me. I can remember that my first visa application was refused, visa rejected, and my whole department, everyone wrote letters to the, immigration office. It is something,
Wow.
it is so good, to feeling that everyone, head of the department, graduate chair, my supervisor, everyone wrote letter to the, immigration office to reconsider my application, and eventually they reconsidered my application, and it was really good. I would say that my before coming, it was that yes, I am going somewhere, people are really good. This was my, before coming, previous prior experience. But only one person told about the negative things, and when I came, oh yeah, it was winter was negative, but it was not that much that it will.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you, honestly. That winter, because I think Bangladesh is similar to Nigeria in the sense that it you get where the coldest it gets is probably the fall here in
Wow.
Canada. Yeah, it's just the fall. Like and that is in certain parts of Nigeria. Like it's not every part of Nigeria. Some parts of Nigeria stay at 20 something degrees almost all through the year, even when it gets a bit cold. If you go towards the northern part of Nigeria, it can get a bit cold. You go to Jos, you can get a bit cold, but it's never like how it gets cold in Canada. And so I can imagine with someone. I mean, I know when we moved during winter too. Like we moved in February, like when it's supposed to be the coldest part in winter. When I landed, I tell everyone that when I landed, I think my body went into shock. It was confused. You just didn't understand what was going on. I had left Nigeria. The weather was about 30 degrees or so when I left Nigeria. I landed in Canada and it was like minus 20. I think my body just went into shock. It just like, wait, what is happening here? What are we doing? Why are we here? What is going on? And it was really cold for me. So I can imagine what it's like for you who moved and it was like minus 49. Like, like that is something else. So I want to just get into your research right now, and because I find it really fascinating because it's kind of tied to a lot of things I'm trying to explore with this thing and with this podcast I'm doing, which is basically the idea of identity, struggling with your mental health as an immigrant, integration, or just the various things that immigrants struggle with as they kind of settle in. And I think the first question I probably want to ask is, what led you to? I mean, was that what you had in mind when you're trying to move to Canada to study, or did you come across it and say, "Oh, I'm going to do this" while you're in Canada?
Okay, wonderful questions actually. So my fascination of doing research on immigration and migration, it started from my, graduate degree back home, Bangladesh. Because my first research, which I did for to complete my master degree, was the inter-district migration. It was the internal migration, the rickshaw pullers who come from the rural areas to urban areas to maintain their livelihood. And my research focused on whether their socioeconomic condition improved after they migrate from the poorest place to the richest place to the city areas, first of all. Then after that, and actually my research interest grows, that I would work on the immigrant or migration related. I will continue migration research on migration related issues. And when I came to Canada, actually my supervisor is inclined to of doing research on immigration integration, labor market integration, social integration, and issues related to immigrants. And when I sent her an email, I actually expressed my interest of working on immigrants and refugees, issues related to immigrants and refugees. So when I came here, I involved with working with her team, my supervisor's teams, working with, and we did a lot of conferences. And also and particularly in case of the mental health, actually this interest grew after coming to Canada, when I experienced myself, how I felt, when I started crying, that it is my mental health was, deteriorating. It is, I was kind of depression type things also. It is not full depression, it is frustration that, oh God, how I am going back to home. I cannot, and it is, I can remember that everyone is helping, but they are doing their own things. They are busy. Sometimes you want to talk to a friend. Back home, you can remember that we have friend circle. I can call him that, come, we'll go for tea. But here you cannot find those people. These things actually was, frustrating a little bit for me. And also when I came, I started, talking to people, and while doing research on integration, immigrant integration, everything, I felt that, okay, there is a mental health issue, which seems to be, according to the literature, different from the Canadian born and who are already settled in Canada. That actually made me, go into working on the mental health, specifically for the mental health field. So and I completed my first master degree, the second master degree at University of Manitoba, and my research focused on the mental health and well-being of immigrants and refugee children, youth and children in Canada. First project I did. And I did a lot of works with my supervisor on a research team on the immigration integration, labor market integration, and we did numbers of conference presentations and also a few publications.
Yeah. Let me go back and ask, when you compare the people so your first research was on people who migrate within the country from poor areas to richer areas. Do they go through the same issues with people who migrate across countries?
Okay. Over there in Bangladesh, people, it is an internal migration, internal from, it is called rural to urban migration.
Yes.
And those people migrate to, for their livelihood, particularly to survive. The people who come across countries, they are different, not specifically on livelihood, not mostly, I would not say that they cannot eat and that's why they are migrating, but better life. It is one of things, that better life, the life they are maintaining over there, and they move across, particularly Canada, developed countries, I would say Canada, USA, and other European countries. They migrate for their better life. It is not a livelihood. They cannot maintain the livelihood, but they are coming for a better opportunity, better life. And a lot of people come for the higher education, because education system in Canada and developed countries are much better than the countries like us, because we are developing, improving, improving our curriculum and adjusting, aligning it with the international standard. I would say that, and one group, particular refugees, they are to save their life. Refugees who come, they are completely different than the immigrant who migrate.
Yeah. But isn't that all still survival in a way? Like are we not all still trying to survive in a way? Even if, like, for example, like, I agree with you when you say most immigrants basically, they can live in their countries, but then they move for a better life. The internal migrant is moving to livelihood. I can't feed here, so I move to another place. So I'm just curious, like, isn't at the core, isn't it still survival, or is it that they're just different types of survival, so it just comes with different kind of issues?
Yeah, this is in my understanding a different kind of issues. But obviously, one common point I would say that the surviving fighting to survive.
Mm,
Even though if they come from the rural areas to urban areas, that for example, to one regions to another regions, they're coming, and regional culture are different from where they come. Actually, they need to struggle, but the struggle of our country would be a little bit weaker than the
yes,
struggle here in Canada, because
yes,
when you will come to Canada, you will come in numbers of challenges and commitment. you know First of all, the challenges is the to adjust with the culture,
yeah,
completely different. If you do, if you are doing cultural practices back home, it is completely different. And in Bangladesh, those people who migrate, cultural kind of
yes,
similar, but it is completely different, multiple cultural settings. You
yeah,
are coming from one cultural setting, probably one cultural setting, coming to a multiple cultural settings, and you have to adapt with this. I wouldn't say and integrate with this culture. This is the first challenge. Another challenge is the language challenge. And another one would be the adapting with the harsh environment. It is completely different to the environment from your back home, most of the people's back home. And and finally, the main purpose which immigrants migrate to getting into a labor market, where actually main struggle started, and actually that causes the mental health problems, which
mm,
that causes that, because when they come to Canada and they try to get into the labor market to get based on the previous educational and labor market credentials, and they find it difficult to translate those previous labor market and educational experiences to the host country's labor market. And that's where the main challenge started.
mm.
Actually, this is what my part of my research found, that actually there, and also the existing research and literatures actually claim that where they start getting mental health problems.
Well, that's interesting. I find that really interesting because I have a hypothesis in my head that I'm trying to answer over time, which is basically, and I like what you're saying right now, that the path to finding belonging basically starts with finding economic stability. Once you find economic stability, you can start the process of integrating and trying to find belonging. But as long as you're struggling to, yeah, you probably got a job, but you got a job that was below your expectations, and I use quote marks here to just say your expectations. So that gap means that you're always trying to catch up. And so it means that you never really have time to start the process of moving your mind mentally into your new culture and saying, okay, I belong here. Like, this is my country. Like, you never really are able to do that because you're always still just trying to say, can I at least get back to what I was before I left my country? You think that is true, or you think that's possible?
Yeah, I would say that it is actually part. I would not mostly it is true. It is true that actually when a person come to Canada with high aspiration, mental strength, and everything, and when they come and started experiencing the reality. One thing I didn't also say that it is called the post-migration stress. It is stress
Mm,
connected to the labor market, and also the kind of racism, racial discrimination. You would say that in some, even though we it has reduced significantly, but still now I would say that there are some covered, it might not be overt, but till now it has covered, discrimination, racial discrimination is going on, because that's and when, as you mentioned that, yes, even though if you are getting, you are struggling, you are getting a job, but when you are getting a job, it cost already some years from your life when you come, and it actually weaken your mental strength, already weaken your mental strength. It started weakening, and it takes long time, it might, and that's why the research says that when the immigrants come to Canada, their mental health or physical health condition remain much better, which is called the healthy immigrant effect. But over the time it started deteriorating, because they all the time they struggle. That job first they do, when they come here, they start job probably in a Tim Hortons or any other kind of odd jobs, which is not aligned with their previous work experience, previous status. When they struggle this just to survive, first they're here, when they come, they start want to survive, and when they get into the job, actually that job they started, most of them, the job is not there up to their expectation, and to what is called climb to the ladder, it costs a lot of their time and also mental health.
Gosh. So and look, I'm no expert here, but just what I just keep thinking about is almost like so there's a gap in your identity. So you're moving as an immigrant, sometimes there's a gap in your identity of who you are. So you move and you have an idea of who you are. I'm a PhD, for example. I was a head of department in my former place. I moved to a new country, and then all that is just pushed aside without any, it's literally just pushed aside. Shoved aside is actually the right, it's just the country shoves it aside, and then you start again, and then you start trying to climb the ladder and close the gap in your identity. And closing that gap in your identity literally is costly, because it costs you physical health, mental health. It's, gosh, it is.
Yeah, it is when you are when you are struggling, even you cannot spend time with your community. And in one interview I mentioned this, when you are struggling with your job, and it actually make you some kind of shy feeling, that you cannot even talk to your community, because if you meet, that what is the natural, I don't know what about our culture is, if you go to meet any community, go to the community organization, any program function, did you get a job, so have you got job? And that's why when people who are struggling to get job, and they feel shy to share with, and even to talk to their family, they actually tell a lie, make a different story to their family back home, that no, I am doing good, I am doing good, and they actually, if you tell something, generally, if you know that, if your mom and dad talk to you and if you are struggling, and if you tell them that no, I am doing good, actually it will negatively backfire you. I am telling you a lie, telling telling lie to my family, and but I am struggling. One thing. Another one things I found that a person would find it is difficult to integrate with their own community, because they are not having a job, and if they cannot answer a lot of queries, have you got a job, and this thing, actually that makes that person not drawing support from their own community, because the social support is a powerful mechanisms to boost your protect your mental health. But when you are struggling, even it might in a different way, it will prevent you from getting the social support from your own community, because of your shy feeling.
Gosh. So some people say that when you move, you should spend time with, you should avoid your community, which is so let's say you're Bangladesh or Nigerian, you should avoid your Nigerian community and instead spend time with people from other communities, because that's a very quick way to integrate. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, is that true? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I would partially agree with it, because yes, one guy I talked few months ago about, but he already assimilated with, he told me that no, I am not meeting anyone from my culture, I don't want. But it is you are ignoring your own identity. You are ignoring your own identity. For example, I am from Bangladesh. I am, first of all, I am Bangladeshi. If I ignore completely my people, my community, that means I am cutting myself from my own own value, own identity, and getting a different identity. But my point of view, you should be open. It is because I have a lot of white Canadian friends, lot of good friends. I would say that good friends, but I have also the Bangladeshi friend, Bangladeshi community connections. But my suggestion would be, no, you should not cut your community connections. Instead, you meet all other people.
Yeah.
That will help you out, boost up multicultural mentality. It will develop multicultural mentality. You understand? Your multicultural mentality, and it will help you to learn how to respect, how to respect and how to tolerate different different, because when you will meet other people from other cultural background, you will get a lot of cultural shock. The way you do, that it is, the way we do some things, and different people do something different ways, and sometimes you might feel a little bit but you should respect those cultural varieties. I would say the cultural differences. Respect and tolerate them, and be open to accept other people in their own way. And that actually, I would say, that help you to strengthen your mental ability. And I did it, and I have a lot of friends. And I would say, they likes me a lot, and we support one another in a different ways. And also, I have connection with people from my own country.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, because I didn't. You really hit the nail on the head when you say, when you cut yourself off, like, you cut your identity off, and maybe you don't see it now, but I wonder if it does show up sometime in the future as some form of trauma, because what you did is you literally rejected who you are because you want to assimilate, and then try to take on a new identity. But what people underestimate is, depending on how old you are when you leave your country, that is almost impossible to do. If you're a kid, if you left as a 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid, you can probably do that, because you really don't have an identity yet. Your identity is just mom and dad, and then you come to a new country. Like, my kid moved here when we moved. My kid was 4. He's 8 now, so he spent 3+ years here. So he's basically becoming a Canadian, But unlike me, I moved when I was 30 something. So I spent 30+ years in Nigeria. So I have a Nigerian identity that is a core part of who I am. So if I come and say I'm going to just cut that off because I want to fully assimilate, I just end up harming myself somehow. That's what I think. Like, you end up harming yourself a bit.
Yeah, it is true that we already have developed our own self identity. And it would be, if you cut your connection with the community, it will be, I would, what it's called, I will connect this this process as the cutting the root of a tree. If you cut the root of a tree, you cannot blossom, you cannot flower, you cannot increase your branches. But yes, leave your root, then you can increase, expand your networks. That means you can expand your branches, and it will bloom different type of flowers. Do this, but don't cut yourself. And as you said that you are 4 years old, because their identity is in the developing process. Because I am a professor, that I am working as an associate professor in Bangladesh as sociology. So I know there is a theory is called the self-development theory process. Pre-play stage, preparatory stage, pre-play stage, play stage, and game stage. We are already, when we came to Canada, we are already in the game stage. We know who we are, what is our connection with other. But your kid actually doesn't know, what is their identity. But they are developing their identity with their peer groups. When they are going to the school and communicating with other Canadian kids, or then they are developing their Canadian identities. That's why we call that we are hyphenated immigrant. Hyphenated. For example, I am immigrant. I am Bangladeshi Canadian. You are Nigerian Canadian.
Yes.
We cannot say that we are Canadian. Because we have our back history. You cannot cut out your 14 years before, more than 20, 24 years, years, memories and stories.
Yeah. It's interesting you call it hyphenated. I call it, I tell people that I call immigrants the in-betweeners. We are always in between. So for example, I am Nigerian Canadian. I'm like, my kid is growing up in Canada, but he's going to be Canadian Nigerian. He's an in-betweener somehow, because even though he's been exposed to the Canadian culture right from when he's a kid, he has Canadian peers, he has kids like his age. He's also grown up in a Nigerian Canadian home. So that itself means that no matter what he does, he's not exactly fully Canadian. And it's not a bad thing. People try to, I'm like it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to have that dual identity. You just need to know how to use it, and it's a strength. That's what I think. It's a strength.
Exactly. This is I totally agree with you.
It's a strength.
Because it is your world. It is your world that you have, and that will help you to integrate easily with. The more you will accept your multiple identities, dual identities, the more easily you can integrate with other, I would not say assimilate. I would say integrate or adapt. Because I personally dislike. I don't accept the process of assimilation that you will, because you cannot wipe your background. You can never wipe your identity, previous identity. That things happen in the melting pot system in the USA. You cannot. You have to accept who I am first. You have to respect yourself, in my understanding. You have to respect yourself first. Then when you respect yourself and you know that who you are, according to the Socrates, I think that is Socrates, know thyself. I said, first know yourself, that you are. And when you know yourself, then you can know other people. Okay, I am meeting that person. Yes, that person has a different cultural practices. It might shock me, but I should accept it in their own way.
This is so good. I thank you so much. I thank you for that reminder about know thyself. So I think I have just two last questions for you. Now, seeing all the work you've done and all the things you know now, like, what's the one thing you'd have done differently with hindsight?
So is it connected to my research or connected to my...
Connected to your research, everything you know, with all you know right now about immigration, because you've done a lot of interesting work on immigration. Like, is there one thing you'd have done differently in hindsight when you just moved to Canada?
Oh, yes, it is. I did, particularly, I did the things I learned from my research work. I'm not sure whether it is the correct answer or not. Just let me know. So before coming to Canada, the perception I developed, One things, and I developed in some, minority groups, particularly sexual minority groups. So I learned that they are dangerous before coming. But when I came here, I found the story is completely different. Completely different. I learned, something, some this type of, because of your culture, where your religious practices going, which cultural practices going, you will learn the stories. One thing, and one thing that you should not meet other people. You should not meet other people. It will be really harmful. But when I came, I learned, through my research work, that integration, particularly when I did some research with the integration of immigrants. Actually, I did now, I meet, I am open. I meet a lot of friends. I don't, what is called, judge people based on their color, based on their religious identity, based on their, cultural identity. But I am open. I respect for everyone. To be honest, I respect, and I'm in return, I am finding the respect. And that is actually helping me to further my research work. Work on the, immigrant integration, and I am trying to, deal with the, the more what is called easy, more feasible way of integration. And that will connect it to my own experience. One thing. Another one thing, I learned to be have passion everywhere, because when I was back home, we didn't. If we want to accomplish something, why it is not happening? It is not happening. But one thing, then you have to wait. Some process which is not, under your control, you have to give it time, and you have to wait, and you should do your own work. Automatically, you will see that these things. And I don't hurry for something. And one thing, and when I want to say that I am open to every people, so I can talk. And another one is, which whoever can contact me, I try to respond them and communicate with them the way you email message me and I reply. I try to do this.
And I think the last question would be like, is there one advice you would give anyone looking to immigrate?
Okay, to the person who is coming before, yes.
Yeah. So I know someone who's looking to move to Canada today. Like, what's the one advice you would say to them? Like, they should keep that in mind when that'll help them to integrate much faster.
Yeah, mostly I would say that learn language very well. First of all, learn language and make yourself ready for unseen challenges. This is, get yourself ready that when you will move to a country, you will face some challenges. But if you can develop your language skill very well, and if you are mentally ready, then you can overcome this problem today or tomorrow.
Yeah, I think with that thing you say, no one talks about. I mean, everyone talks about all the opportunities. No one talks about the challenges you will face when you move. It's always like, oh, you get a better job, a better life. But no one talks about the journey between going from when you just land to that better life you talk about. Like, so everyone just gets into it and goes like, gosh, like this is so hard.
Yeah, it does. My family, my sister is completing public masters in public health, and she is planning to come to Canada. And what I does homeless, I took the videos of the homeless people and other people, I send them. I try to see the reality. Canada is not, yes, Canada has a huge opportunities if you can, make yourself ready. But if you come and think that you will come and get food ready on the table and you will come and start eating, no, this will not happen. If it would happen, there wouldn't be a lot of people homeless. If there would be something, no, you have to come, you have to get ready, and thus, if you can realize, feel the negative side beforehand, if you can foresee the challenges, that means you have done half part. You are mentally ready before coming. Then when you will come, oh, I know this, This is happening. This is happening. But the stories we say everyone, but people come. Yes, if you come Canada, you can complete degree, you can get job. After 2 years, you will get PR. But when you come 2 years, you know that what the process of PR process. The system is changing, every now and then, and people are
Yeah.
challenging. So you should learn this. And I experience a lot of my roommates and other Bangladeshis, guys who get really frustrated because their immigration process is delaying, they are not getting into job. And I always tell them that because it is not in your control. Give it time, do your best. Automatically it will, and it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. You have to try. You first of all, you have to obtain your qualification. Yes, for example, what I say that yes, your previous qualification might not be, translated to the Canadian labor market. Yes, you should know this. And when you will come to Canada, get ready that okay, if I have to get another educational qualification here. Instead of getting frustrated everything, just go for this. When you will come to as an immigrant, you will have opportunities to go to the, that if you go to academic, completing another degree, you will get the tuition fees be significantly lower than the international student. You can get these opportunities. There are some also opportunities. Canada has also some supporting system, but you should know that there are supporting system that I should avail.
Yeah. This has been so good. We're going to end it here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this. This was a beautiful episode for many reasons. Gosh, it's so beautiful. Please. But again, as I always say, like, share, follow us on Substack. We have an Instagram account to YouTube. Just follow us. But please, if you know someone who finds this useful, please send to them. Thank you so much.